The human ship arrived in silence above the wide silver city. Jay stood inside the landing hall and waited. He wore a plain uniform and carried no weapons. Around him, tall alien guards watched with calm eyes. They did not speak to him. They did not even look at him for long. To them, he was small and weak. He was only a human observer, sent to watch and learn, not to matter. The alien world was bright and clean. Smooth towers reached into the sky like white glass. Floating paths moved people from place to place. Everything worked with quiet order. No one rushed. No one laughed. Jay felt like noise did not belong here. Even breathing felt too loud. He had trained for this mission for many years. He learned the alien language. He studied their laws and customs. Still, nothing prepared him for how invisible he felt. When officials passed him, they spoke over his head. When guards stood near him, they treated him like furniture. Jay kept his face calm and his hands steady. He reminded himself that humans were guests here. That day, the royal court held a public gathering. Important figures from many systems were present. Jay was placed far from the center. He stood near a tall pillar at the edge of the hall. The floor shined like water. The ceiling glowed with soft light that changed color as people moved. Queen Mira entered the hall with slow steps. She was tall and strong, with silver skin and calm eyes. Her presence silenced the room. Behind her walked her young son, Era. He was small for his kind. His eyes moved too much. He watched everything. The court began its formal words. Leaders spoke of trade, power, and order. Jay listened, though much of it felt distant. He focused on staying still and respectful. He did not expect anything to change. Then it happened. Era stopped walking. The child looked around the hall. His eyes passed over nobles, soldiers, and scholars. Then they landed on Jay. For a moment, the world seemed to pause. Era pulled his hand free from his guard. Before anyone could react, the child ran. He crossed the shining floor with fast steps and ignored every voice calling his name. Guards reached out but missed him. The boy did not slow down. Jay barely had time to react when Era reached him. The child pressed against his side and wrapped small arms around his leg. Era held on tightly, as if afraid Jay might disappear. The hall exploded with sound. Guards moved forward. Nobles shouted. Soldiers raised weapons. Jay froze. His heart beat fast. He did not move. Slowly, he looked down. Era looked up at him with wide eyes. There was no fear in them. Only relief. Jay did the only thing that felt right. He lowered himself and gently placed a hand on the child's shoulder. His touch was careful and light. Era relaxed at once. Queen Mira raised her hand. The room fell silent again. She walked toward them. Every step carried weight. When she reached Jay, she looked down at her son. Then up at the human. Her voice was clear and calm. When she spoke. My son has chosen you as his father. The words spread through the hall like fire. Jay felt his breath leave him. He tried to speak, but could not. His mind raced with fear and confusion. He was no leader. He was no warrior. He was only human. The queen continued. She explained that such a choice was rare. In their culture, a child could form a bond of spirit. It could not be forced. It could not be broken without harm. Many in the court did not believe her. Others were angry. Some looked afraid. Jay slowly stood and bowed. He spoke with respect. He said he did not understand. He said he had no wish to bring trouble. Era tightened his grip. The queen watched this in silence. Then she ordered that Jay be brought to the palace. Not as a prisoner. As a guest. Guards surrounded Jay, but their weapons were lowered. He walked beside the queen and the child. The eyes of the court followed him. Inside the palace, Jay was given a quiet room. The walls glowed softly. Food was brought, though he could not eat. His hands shook. Later, the queen returned with a scholar named Sue. Sue explained the bond in simple words. Era felt alone in a world that did not feel. The child sensed care in Jay, something human that their people lacked. Jay was allowed to spend time with Era. At first, he only sat nearby. He spoke softly. He told simple stories of Earth. He spoke of rain and wind and open skies. Era listened. Slowly. The child smiled. From the shadows, others watched. Some with curiosity. Some with hate. Jay did not know it yet, but his life had already changed forever. The palace was quiet during the long cycle of rest. Soft light moved along the walls like slow water. Jay sat on the floor near the window and watched the alien city below. Ships drifted between towers. Everything looked perfect and cold. Era slept on a wide cushion near him. The child made small sounds in his sleep. Jay stayed still so he would not wake him. He felt strange warmth in his chest. He had known Era for only a short time, yet the idea of leaving him already felt wrong. When Era woke, he did not cry or call for guards. He looked for Jay. When he saw him, his body relaxed. Jay smiled without thinking. Later that cycle, Queen Mira returned. She moved with the same calm strength as before. Behind her walked Sue, the scholar. Guards stayed at the door. The queen sat across from Jay. Era moved closer to him at once. The queen did not stop this. She watched carefully. Sue spoke first. He explained the bond again, slower this time. Long ago, their people believed that strength came only from control. Feelings were dangerous. Bonds were weak. Over time, they forgot older truths. Very rarely, a child was born who still carried that old instinct. Era was one of them. Such children suffered. They felt too much. They did not fit. Jay listened. He felt anger and sadness mix inside him. He asked why the bond had chosen him. Sue answered honestly. Humans were different. Humans survived not because they were the strongest, but because they cared. That care was loud to Era. Queen Mira finally spoke. She said Jay was not trapped. He could refuse, but the cost would be heavy. Era would lose a part of himself. The damage could not be healed. Jay looked down at Era. The child was watching him with quiet trust. Jay said he needed time. The queen agreed. But she warned him. Many in the court were angry. They believed humans were unclean and unstable. A human guiding the royal heir was unthinkable. As if to prove her words. Trouble came quickly. That same cycle, guards arrived without warning. They took Era from the room. Jay protested, but he was only human. He was pushed aside. Era cried out. The sound cut deep. Jay followed as far as he could. Doors closed between them. Hours passed. Jay sat alone. His chest felt tight. He tried to calm himself. He reminded himself that this was not his world. He had no right to demand anything. Then Sue returned. Era was sick. Separated from Jay, the child refused food and rest. His skin lost color. His eyes were dull. He did not respond to doctors. The proof was undeniable. Queen Mira ordered Era returned at once. When Era saw Jay again, he rushed forward and clung to him. His breathing slowed. Color returned to his skin. The doctors watched in shock. Whispers spread through the palace. That cycle, Jay was brought before a smaller council. Military leaders stood among them. One named Day spoke with sharp words. He said tradition was breaking. He said humans were weak and ruled by emotion. He demanded Jay be removed. Jay was allowed to speak. He did not give a speech. He spoke simply. He said humans were afraid too. He said they survived by holding on to each other. He said caring was not weakness. It was responsibility. The room was silent. Queen Mira ended the meeting. No decision was made. Later, Sue offered Jay a private choice. A ship could take him home. Earth was far, but safe. If he left now, no one would blame him. Jay stood in the doorway of the room and watched. Ere asleep, he thought of Earth. He thought of the stars. He thought of a child alone in a cold palace. Jay made his choice. He stayed. From that moment, eyes followed him everywhere. Some with doubt, some with anger, some with hope. Jay did not notice most of it. He focused on Era. He played simple games. He listened. He stayed present. Slowly, Era laughed. Slowly, the palace changed. And slowly fear began to grow among those who believed humans should never matter. The days that followed were heavy with silence. Jay felt it in the halls and in the way guards watched him. No one touched him. No one spoke openly against him. Yet danger moved like a shadow. Era stayed close to Jay at all times. When Jay walked, Era walked beside him. When Jay sat, Era leaned against him. The bond was no longer hidden. It was clear to anyone who looked. Some nobles turned away when they passed. Others stared with cold interest. A few watched with open dislike. Queen Mira observed everything. She ordered lessons for Era to continue. But now Jay was present. Teachers spoke with care. They did not challenge the change, but they did not welcome it either. Era learned faster with Jay nearby. His focus improved. His fear faded. This did not please everyone. They, the military leader, gathered support in quiet rooms. He spoke of danger. He said emotion would weaken the empire. He said humans brought chaos wherever they went. Many listened. Jay knew nothing of this. He focused on small things. He showed Era simple games from Earth. He told stories about people who stood together when times were dark. He did not speak of war or power. He spoke of choice. Era asked many questions. Why did humans protect the weak? Why did they stay with family, even when it hurt? Jay answered honestly. He said humans were not always good. They made mistakes, but they tried. Era thought deeply about this. One cycle, Era was taken for medical checks. Jay was told to wait outside. The doors closed. Time passed. Too much time. Jay began to feel wrong. His chest tightened. He moved closer to the door. Guards blocked him. They would not explain. Inside, Era felt fear. The doctors spoke calmly, but their tools were cold. The child's body reacted. His heart rate rose. His skin dulled. Far away, Jay felt a sharp pull in his chest. He did something no human had ever done in that place. He pushed past the guards. Weapons rose. Alarms sounded. Jay did not stop. The doors opened as he reached them. Inside, Era cried out. The moment Jay entered, the machines changed tone. Era's breathing slowed. His eyes locked on Jay. The room went silent. The doctor stepped back. Proof stood before them. All. Word spread fast. Faster than any order could stop. The council was called again. This time, the chamber was full. They spoke with anger. He demanded Jay's removal by force. He said the bond endangered the empire. He called Jay a threat. Jay was brought forward. He stood alone. Queen Mira asked him one question. Why did he break protocol? Jay answered simply. He said Era was afraid. He said no rule mattered more than a child's safety. Murmurs filled the chamber. They mocked him. He said fear made humans weak. Jay looked at the assembly. He spoke again. He said fear existed in all beings. Strength was choosing to protect others anyway. He spoke of Earth, of disasters and loss, of people who rebuilt together. He said humans were still alive because they refused to abandon each other. The room was quiet. Era stepped forward. The child placed a hand on Jay's arm. In a clear voice, Era spoke. He said Jay made the pain quiet. He said the human made the world feel safe. That was something no tradition could ignore. Queen Naira rose. She declared the bond recognized by the crown. Day's face hardened. That night, danger came. Power failed in one wing of the palace. Lights dimmed. Guards were pulled away. Jay felt it before it happened. Era woke suddenly. He clutched Jay's arm and pointed toward the dark hall. They moved. Figures stepped from the shadows, silent, armed. Jay did not think. He stepped in front of Era. The first strike never landed. Guards arrived. Blades clashed. The attackers were captured. Day's name was spoken. The truth was clear. By morning, the Empire knew. Jay sat with Era as the sun rose over the Silver City. The child leaned against him. Safe. Queen Mira watched from a distance. She saw not weakness, but a strength her people had forgotten, and she knew the future would never be the same. Morning light spread across the palace after the failed attack. The air felt different. Guards stood in new positions. Their eyes were sharp. Quiet fear moved through the halls. Jay did not sleep much. He stayed awake beside Era and watched the child breathe. When Era finally slept deep, Jay allowed himself to rest a little. Queen Mira called for order at once. Day was arrested before the full court. Evidence was shown. Messages, plans, names. The truth could not be hidden anymore. Some leaders looked away in shame. Others looked angry. A few looked relieved. Queen Mira spoke with strength. She said the empire had grown strong in machines and weak in heart. She said that fear of feeling had made them blind. She declared that the bond between Jay and Era was now protected by royal law. This decision shook the empire. Messages spread across systems. Other species watched closely. Many expected violence. Many expected the human to be removed. Instead, Jay remained. Era was allowed to walk freely with him. The child laughed more now. His steps were lighter. He explored gardens and open halls that were once closed to him. Jay followed and guarded him with care. Not everyone accepted this change. Some nobles whispered of old power. Some spoke of revenge. Danger still lived in quiet corners. Jay was warned. He was offered guards. He refused more than one. He said Era needed trust more than walls. This confused the aliens. One cycle, a foreign envoy arrived. They tested the empire with sharp words. They questioned the choice of a human protector. They spoke of weakness. Era listened. When the envoy finished, Era walked to Jay and took his hand. The room fell silent. Era spoke calmly. He said strength was not fear. He said safety came from those who stayed. The envoy left without another word. That moment changed. How many saw the child? Queen Mira watched with pride. Later, she spoke with Jay alone. She thanked him. She said she had ruled with distance for too long. She said watching Jay and Era had reminded her of something she lost. Jay answered honestly. He said he was still afraid. He said he made mistakes. The queen nodded. She said that was why he was strong. Danger returned when least expected. A public gathering was planned to show unity. Many leaders attended. Jay stood beside Era in open view. A sudden sound broke the calm. A weapon fired. Jay reacted without thought. He pulled Era down and turned his body. Pain burned across his side. Guards rushed forward. The attacker was stopped. Era screamed. Jay fell to one knee but stayed upright. He kept his arms around the child. Blood darkened his clothing. The sight froze the crowd. Doctors rushed in. Jay was taken away. Era fought to follow. Queen Mira ordered them to stay together. In the medical wing, machines worked fast. Jay drifted in and out of awareness. He heard Era's voice. He felt small hands holding his. The wound was serious, but not fatal. Jay survived. Attempt ended all doubt. The attacker was linked to remaining loyalists of Day. Their network was destroyed. Empire stood at a breaking point. Queen Mira addressed her people. She spoke of what she saw. A human who stepped into danger without hesitation. A bond that saved a child and revealed a lie there. People lived with Dot. She declared a new path. Emotional. Bonds were no longer hidden or punished. Education would change. Strength would be redefined. Jay recovered slowly. Era never left his side. When Jay finally stood again under open sky, the city looked warmer. Era smiled up at him. The future felt uncertain. But for the first time, it also felt alive. The city changed slowly after the attack. It did not happen in one speech or one law. It happened in small moments that added together. Guards smiled more. Teachers listened longer. People paused before turning away. Jay healed under wide windows that showed the moving sky. Era stayed close. He brought small objects and placed them near Jay. Smooth stones. Shining leaves. Things that mattered to a child. Jay listened and rested. When he could stand again, Era helped him walk. The child was proud. His steps were sure. Queen Myra visited often. She spoke less as a ruler and more as a mother. She asked Jay about Earth. She asked how humans raised children. Jay answered simply. He said humans learned by trying. He said love was work. The queen considered this. Across the empire, news spread. Other worlds sent messages. Some praised the change. Some warned against it. Trade slowed, then resumed. Fear did not vanish, but it weakened. Era returned to lessons. This time, other children joined him. They watched how he learned. They noticed how calm he was with Jay nearby. Slowly, they copied him. They asked questions. Teachers adjusted. The future began to look different. One cycle, an envoy from Earth arrived. They came with careful words and many rules. They were shocked to see Jay walking freely beside the royal heir. Jay spoke with them privately. He told them the truth. He said he was needed here. The envoy offered him a return home, honor, safety, a place among his own people. Jay asked for time. That night, he stood under the open sky with Era. Stars filled the dark. Era asked where Jay came from. Jay pointed to a small light far away. He spoke of oceans and storms. He spoke of noise and laughter. Era listened quietly. Jay said Earth would always be part of him. But so was this place now. Era understood. The next day, Jay gave his answer. He would stay. He would remain Era's chosen father. But he would keep a bridge open between worlds. Queen Myra accepted. A new role was created. Jay became a guide not only to Era, but to the Empire. He did not rule. He advised. He reminded them of the value of care. Not all agreed, but many listened. Years passed. Era grew taller. His voice grew stronger. He learned law and history. He learned restraint and courage. He learned when to stand and when to bend. Jay watched and guided. He corrected gently. He protected fiercely. When Era faced fear, Jay stayed. When Era faced anger, Jay listened. When Era faced choice, Jay let him choose. The empire changed its laws. Bonds were honored. Children were allowed to feel. Strength was no longer measured by silence alone. Other species noticed. Humans were invited more often. not as tools. As partners. One day, Era stood before the court as a young leader. Jay stood behind him, not as a ruler, but as family. Era spoke clearly. He said the empire would stand strong because it stood together. The court answered with respect. Later, Jay and Era walked through the gardens where they first spoke. The air was warm. Light touched the leaves. Era asked Jay if he ever regretted staying. Jay smiled. He said no. He said one act of care had changed his life. Era looked ahead. The future waited. Above them, ships crossed the sky. Worlds moved closer. A human once ignored had become a father, and through that choice, an empire learned what strength truly meant.